I'm going to tell you a story that creates more faith in my heart that God is going to use everybody to end abortion in America. So here's the story. In our Justice House of Prayer, there's a young lady, 15 years old, that had a dream. In the dream, she saw this big house, and over it said the words, "The Who." And we're thinking, who's The Who? Was it a rock band or something like that? But in the dream, she made her way up these stairways, up into the attic. And in the attic, she found a series of old books that were needed for the future. She shares the dream together with us, and we don't know what to do with the dream. So we said, just waited on it. The next day, I was totally amazed when I got an email over my desk from a man, and this is the email. He says, "I was stirred by your message, Lou, on the issue of abortion. I write this letter because I believe that the Lord has given me a piece of the puzzle concerning the end of abortion, and I submit it to you. It comes from a story that I've known from childhood called Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. It was written in 1954 before abortion was legalized. And here is the story. Horton is an elephant that has big ears. He's not a Republican. He's a prophet. He can hear what others can't hear. And he finds this group of little people called the Who's that nobody can see and nobody can hear their voice. And the whole theme of the book is a person's a person, no matter how small. But the kangaroo wants to kill the Who's because he can't hear them and can't see them. And it's the kangaroo court. And Horton, the elephant, wants to save them. And here's the story. He says to the mayor of Whoville that you need to gather all these people to make a loud cry, and every voice must be counted. Don't give up. I believe in you all, and you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come now and try. And Horton called back, I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every Who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking? Through the town rushed the mayor from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping, but it wasn't enough, all this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through its building, he searched floor to floor, and just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mayor discovered one shirker quite hidden away in the Fairfax Apartments, apartment 12J. 12 is the number of government, justice, J for justice. I like it. A very small shirker named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo. Not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp. And the mayor rushed inside and he grabbed the young twerp. You love it? And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. This, cried the mayor, is your town's darkest hour. The time for all Who's who have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country, he said. I believe it's carrying the blood of Jesus in this dark time in American history. To come to the aid of their country, he said. We've got to make noises in greater amounts, so open your mouth, lad, for every voice counts. Thus as he spoke, as he climbed, when they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, Yop, Y-O-P-P, young ones praying and prophesying. And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean. And the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small. And the whole world was saved by the smallest of all. How true, yes, how true, said the big kangaroo. And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." Now, it's a phenomenal story that the kangaroo, the court, heard the voice and said, "We're going to protect the who's, the unborn." But what's phenomenal is we send this out on the Elijah list, a prophetic portal. Right after that, we got an email sent from a lady who works in a daycare center. She read the email and was stunned. The next day after reading the email, a little kid walked into the place, into the daycare, and had a Horton Hears a Who backpack. Another kid walks in with a little Who from Whoville as a doll. But floored her most was a 10-year-old who walked in and said, "I had a dream last night, and it was Horton Hears a Who." And all the Who's were not saying yop, they were saying stop. Amazingly, we heard that Fox Movies have just gotten the rights to do a major motion picture named Horton Hears a Who. It's coming out in 2 years. Could God be shouting, "It is time for every yop to be heard all across America"? Every voice counts at this hour, right now, during the town's darkest hour. Amazingly, I was just with a man yesterday from Colorado. He said, my daughter came to me. She said, "I'm reading this book called Horton Hears a Who," a 10-year-old. And she said, "Dad, I think it's about ending abortion." The next day, he's reading, and he reads Elijah List and finds my article on it about Horton Hears a Who. I believe these things are not accidents. God is shouting right now that every child, every person in America must have a voice on the issue of abortion. Right now, I believe this is not an accident. It's not a joke. What are the chances a 15-year-old girl would dream a dream about the Who, about finding a series of old books that are needed for the future? I'm telling you, I believe God is shouting right now. Every voice must be heard. Every voice must pray. Life bands, silent sieges. A group of kids in Kansas City. There's an abortion clinic right next door to a crisis pregnancy center, and there's a wall between the two buildings. Little children are going, laying their hands on the wall, and they're praying. They're calling it the Wailing Wall. I believe it is time for every Who to begin to lift their voices. Young man and young woman, old and young. I want you to begin to pray, "God, how can I be involved?" Listen, during the days of slavery, you could have been in the battles, you could have been doing good things, but if you didn't have a voice concerning the ending of slavery, you would have been judged by history. As it was in the days of the civil rights movement, you could have been a godly person, a righteous person, but if you didn't speak out about justice, you would have been judged by history. And I believe 20, 30 years down the road, they will be judging us in history and say, "What happened to you? Why didn't you shout during the greatest Holocaust in history? The slaughtering of 50 million babies." I believe your voice can be counted now and heard, and maybe your voice will be the one that counts the most and ends abortion in America. God bless you as you make history.